What is going on, everyone? Xfitcher here, and this is episode number 2 of the Jules Bianchi tribute career. If you haven't already, go check out episode 1. This is your chance, so go do that now if you haven't already. Now I'm going to spoil it. Last time out, we were doing very well. We were borderline if we were going to get points, but then we had contact with Nico Hulkenberg, unfortunately dropping us back a fair way in the order. We also had contact with Kamui Kobayashi, which also knocked us back further down, but we managed to drive back up to 14th place. Not a point scoring position, but still a good result for the first race. We're here in Malaysia for round number 2. Hopefully we can score our first points, and on the points, in the first episode I said I would be looking to donate money to the Henry Surtees Foundation in some way during this series. I have made up my mind. For every point I score, I will be donating 50 cents. That's Australian currency. That equals about 25 pence, I believe, for you Brits watching. Now, let's go to qualifying. We're here in qualifying at the end of our first run. As you can see, we have done 4 laps as we run down to the last corner. We are in P11. These tyres are getting old, but I kept pushing and kept trying to set some laps because up to this point I had not set a clean lap and it was really pissing me off. I wanted to get a decent banker in. As I go P10, we now cut to the end of qualifying. The checker flag has fallen. I am on a flying lap, heading down to the last corner, being very careful. These are only 1 lap old tyres, squeezing the throttle very carefully, opening the DRS, accelerating towards the line, taking the straightest line possible to get the fastest time, shortest line possible I should say, and I'm not sure if we have improved. Jules looks happy though, so that is a good sign. I really hope we have improved, but I'm not sure. He looks happy, so that's good. We've gone P8, holy crap. P8. We've improved 2 places in that last lap. We are in a Ferrari sandwich. Oh, that P8. Jeez, that was amazing. We are ahead of the likes of Fernando Alonso, Jenson Button, and Kevin Magnussen. And we're in a Ferrari sandwich as the Mercedes have locked out the front row. Yay. So interesting. Anyway, let's go to the race. We are on the grid here in Malaysia for round number 2, revving up to 5 red lights. And lights out and away we go here in Malaysia. The Malaysian Grand Prix as we get off to a not very good start. Well, no, that's a terrible start. We've been absolutely swamped. We've lost 3 positions already on the run to the first corner as we break down to the first corner, up the inside of Kimi Raikkonen, right behind Daniel Ricciardo. And Raikkonen's still on my inside, but I take a very wide line through there, trying to get a better run. As Raikkonen has really dropped back out of that corner as I'm trying to stay up with Ricciardo and Felipe Massa as we head up to the end of the very first sector, and I throw it up the inside, and Felipe Massa just gives me room on the inside. And that from a terrible start, it's actually turned out to a dream-worthy start. We are up into P5. Oh my, what a start. Position number 5 off the start. We have taken, well, 6 cars really, because we lost 3 and now we've made up 6 places, as now We have Vettel in front of me, but our chances of catching him are very, very low. As we run down to the end of the first sector, it looks like he has Valtteri Bottas in front of him, but there is really no chance of catching him. It's like a big moment coming out of the hairpin as you run into the very difficult third sector. As you can see on the minimap, I have a big train behind me. Actually, it's breaking up a bit, but I have cars hounding my rear as we come into the very tricky penultimate corner. Braking for that corner is insanely difficult. I found a rear bias really helps, as now, even without DRS, we've just been mugged off down the straight by Felipe Massa. Looks like Ricciardo's trying to go up the inside, but he doesn't, as we now dive it back up the inside of Felipe Massa very aggressively. And now it looks like Ricciardo and Massa going side by side, but Massa's got him, as now he runs up my inside as we come down the main straight to finish the first lap. Ricciardo darts to the outside, and Raikkonen's looking in between, so now he darts to my inside. Now I just throw it back up the inside of Massa, and he gives me some room. We're going side by side, but it looks like I've got the move done, and I retain position 5, which is great news. As we now have a look at a replay of this, as you can see, Massa has just mugged me off down the straight, and then I go very late and aggressive move, and we almost make contact there down the inside of the very last corner as we come onto the straight and see the cars behind me darting around as Massa has just passed me again. And now I'd move across, Ricciardo moves right to the outside, and Raikkonen then's darting all over the place, and I throw it back up the inside of Felipe Massa through the first corner. And as you can see, we've got the move done. We now jump on board with Daniel Ricciardo. As you can see, Raikkonen and Massa are running side by side as we come out of the second corner, running around the very long third corner, coming up to the 90-degree right fourth corner to start the second sector. They're still running side by side. Raikkonen has the inside line, tries to squeeze out Massa. Massa holds it. Now they're coming up to the very difficult left-right. It's difficult even by yourself. I can only imagine how difficult it would be running side by side through here, as they still run side by side through that complex of corners. We run now down to the double right, and Raikkonen tries to force Massa off the track, but that actually gives Massa a better drive out of the corner, and Massa has got the position and retained P6, I believe it is. We now cut to the end of lap 2, back on board with me as we come down the main straight. Massa has just passed me again. It's just hopeless down the straight, this car. It's insanely difficult. I'm having to do all these ultra aggressive moves. I go back up the inside of Felipe Massa to hold P5. I figured out very early in this race that the only way to hold position, because of the straight line speed in this car, is I have to be very aggressive as I run wide on the entry of the penultimate corner, and then I have to cut back across the apex to try and stop Raikkonen looking up the inside. As now Raikkonen pulls to my outside, Massa pulls to my inside, and holy, I just get completely, and now I push it back down the inside of Raikkonen. As we run side by side, I get a bit of wheel spin, and now I also have DRS to try and defend, not that it's going to really help me. Now Felipe Massa is running up my inside, and I am in a sandwich between a current Ferrari driver and an ex-Ferrari driver. I just outbrake them all, and we're running 3 wide into the first corner. But Massa's gone extremely wide. It looks like I've got the move done on Raikkonen and held. As we now look at a replay on board with Felipe Massa, I just come out of nowhere, bully Raikkonen out of the way, but he gets a better drive off the corner. And now I have DRS, and you can see Massa pulls to my inside, as then we run towards the first corner. There's barely any room, and then I just shoot back up the inside, the middle I should say, as we run around the first corner 3 wide. And then Massa, what does Massa do? He just I don't even know, and he actually loses a position to Daniel Ricciardo. No, he doesn't lose a position to Daniel Ricciardo in the end. As we cut to the end of the second sector on lap number 4, I am still in position 5. I have Raikkonen behind me, and I've gone terribly wide. Raikkonen has passed me, as I'd really taken the life out of these tyres with all this aggressive defending. As you can see, I just can't even keep it on the track in a normally flat corner. I look up the inside of Raikkonen and we make contact. I really wanted to get in front of Raikkonen because I knew as soon as he went, he was gone forever. Now I have DRS to try and defend, and Ricciardo is going down my outside, it looks like, but that is never going to happen, Daniel. We look like we hold the position, but actually, why did I say it's never going to happen? He's actually held it around my outside. We come down the main straight, and I've got DRS, and I try getting his slipstream, and it looks like, I think I saw, yes, that's a Felipe Massa on my outside, and I throw it back up the inside. Oh, very aggressive moves. Ricciardo has to concede to me as we now get back very close to Kimi Räikkönen. And I was hoping to get the move into the next corner, but it just didn't have the straight lines. We cut to lap number 5, down the back straight again, and I have just been mugged off by Massa, and that is Fernando Alonso. I tried to cut to the... Oh, we made contact! I tried to cut back across to the inside to try and get back up the inside of both drivers. Let's have a look at a replay of this. Massa pulls to my outside, goes right past me, Fernando Alonso, and I try to cut across, and we just nick. It sends me spinning into the gravel trap. And I'll be honest, that was probably my fault. Alonso broke earlier than I expected, but I shouldn't have been doing something that aggressive. As I come back onto the track in between Gutierrez and Grosjean in position 16. We now cut a little later on the lap. I look up the inside of Gutierrez, but I can't do it into the, I think it's turn 4, as we now run into the very long left and right. I take a very alternate line, but it actually gives me a better drive off the corner, and that has worked a treat, and I've gone straight past Gutierrez like he's not even there. As we now jump to the end of lap 6, start of lap number 7, and we have an Esteban Gutierrez going up our outside down to the first corner, and I just out-brake him into the first corner, but he's still around the... No, he's not around the outside, he's just given up on the position, and I am now up into P15 as we cut to lap number 8. Still in P15, I come in for my pit stop. These tyres had really had it by now. As you can see, I'm going into the grass on the pit entry, for God's sake. We now come in to fit another set of option tyres, I believe, as we trundle down the pit lane at, I think it says 80 kilometers per hour. We lose a few positions, and for some reason I'm weaving in the pit lane as that looks like a Jenson Button coming out behind me. I pull into my pit box, yes, it was new option tyres, and I just drive through the Caterham guys like they just don't exist. Yeah, because you can do that in this game now. Coming out of the pits, I get a bit taily, but now we cut to lap number 9. I have caught Checo Perez, and now I just do it. That looks like a cut. Looks like the exact same clip as from when I passed Gutierrez, but except it's on Perez, and I am up into position 18th. But we are out of sync as we jump to lap number 12. As you can see, we are back up into P13 is now, I think everyone had pitted at this stage. As you can see, it's out of 21 now. That is because Kamui Kobayashi retired on about lap 7 or 8. As we now have the DRS of Jenson Button as we run down the main straight. As you can see, Perez is just nowhere to be seen anymore. So we now jump later this lap. As you can see, me, Button, and Vern are very close. I'm on the gearbox of Jenson Button as we run into the double right-hander and coming down to start third sector, coming down to the hairpin. And you can see the straight line Jenson Button has on me. And I just throw it straight up the inside very aggressively. I try and give him space, but he just doesn't hold it around the outside. And it looks like I've got the move on Jenson Button done for P12 as we now cut to a little later the exact same lap. And he's just gone, just like drove past me like I didn't even exist. But I've thrown it back up the inside, and that was very lucky that he gave me space. As we now jump onto a really cool camera I found. It's like on the front nose looking backwards. As you can see, Jenson Button, look how close we are running to the wall. I tried to squeeze him into the wall, but he just gets me done quite easily as I now cut back to the outside and I go round the outside into turn 1, which gives me the ideal line for turn 2, and it looks like I have retained the position over Jenson. As you can see now, Jean-Eric Vergne is getting away from us as we are now down the back straight on the very next lap, lap 14, and Button has gone right around the outside of me, and I have outbraked him again up the inside of the last corner and back onto the main straight, and we're about to start lap 15. We are now past halfway through this Grand Prix as Jenson Button just goes round my outside again like I don't even exist, and I have to throw it up the inside very aggressively. I lose the rear a bit under braking, but I've got it under control and I retain P12 again. Then we jump to lap 15 again down the back straight again, the very next lap. and Jenson Button's just going to drive past me again, and then I'm going to throw it up the inside again. It's just the exact same thing kept happening throughout this race. As the rest of the lap, he was running just right behind me, and his only time he tried to pass was down the straight. As you can see it happening again down the main straight, he just goes straight past me like I don't exist, and again I just throw it up the inside. It's like the entire race was just getting passed down the straight and throwing it back up the inside into the last and first corners. But it looks like I've held the position on Button as we jump to the next lap down the back straight again. Button has passed me again as we now again throw it aggressively up the inside, but this time Jenson has actually held it around my outside. I have to give him space, have a bit of wheel spin, almost make contact there as I try to return to my normal line. So now trying to use his slipstream, we're falling a long way back. But again, I go very aggressive, but I just couldn't get the move done, and I actually touch him twice, and I look up the inside, and that was very risky, and I managed to stop enough and not make contact with Button. We now run up to turn number 4, and I throw it up the inside very aggressively, go very, very, very deep, but I've actually made the move stick back for P12 again as we cut to the penultimate corner on lap number 17, and I've run terribly wide. These tyres have had it. Jenson's now on my inside as we run down the back straight again, and he's done me even pretty much before the DRS zone this time as I jump into his slipstream, and I go very aggressive up the inside as I was trying to get up into the pit lane. We actually both go into the pit lane. I probably shouldn't have done that. A little dangerous, a little aggressive, but I really wanted to get into the pit lane before him, trying to stay in front of him as we came out on the new tyres. As we now slow down to 80 kilometers per hour, trundling down the pit lane. In P13, Jenson Button pulls into his pit box, and for this stop we have to fit the prime tyre as this is our last stop. We are going to go to the end as we have done 2 option stints, yes, as you can see, fitting the orange walled tyres, which are the, oh god, hard tyres I believe, yes, as we come out of the pits. Run very wide, but no one's near us. As you can see, we got a long way away from Button. As you can see now, Button's nowhere to be seen as we are now on the back of John-Eric Vergne. I look up the inside of the penultimate corner. We almost make contact under braking, and I was really surprised I managed to get that move to stick, as that corner is hard enough to brake for by itself. As we now cut to lap 22, we are in P number 11, and that is Nico Hulkenberg, position number 10, directly in front of us. You know what that means, guys. If I can pass him, we are on for 1 championship point, which means it will be 50 cents to the Henry Surtees Foundation as we go up the inside into turn 1. Do I make the move stick? Yes, I do. We are up into P10. We are into the points, guys. We are into the points. Great news on lap 23 as we now cut 3 laps later onto lap 26. As you can see, we have closed up on Kevin Magnussen right in front of me as we go into turn number 1, getting very close to him now. We now run through long turn 3, very close to the Danish driver, and this would be a dream come true if I could just pass him as I go up the inside very late, an aggressive move, and I get the move done. We're up to P9, which means 2 championship points, guys. That's a whole $1 to the Henry Surtees Foundation. In only the 2nd episode, as we run down the back straight on lap number 26. And Kevin Magnussen does not get me down the straight, surprisingly enough. I managed to pull out enough of a gap through the middle part of the lap. But now as we come onto the main straight, as you can see in my mirrors, he is a lot closer than he was before. As he pulls to my outside, and the Danish driver just does me quite easily. And I go up the inside very aggressively. We're running side by side through the first turn. And I've held the position, or I should say I've got him back actually for P9, and still got 2 championship points as we cut to the second last lap, coming up to the last corner as Kevin Magnussen has done me again, and again I throw it very aggressively up the inside, taking all the life out of these tyres as we come onto the straight to start the very last lap. As you can see, he gets a much better drive out of the last corner. and I am trying to use the slipstream, but he actually has DRS and I don't, because where we were crossing the DRS, I don't even know what that line was through the first corner, guys. I don't know what I was thinking there, but it actually worked as the checkered flag has fallen. We are actually closer again to Magnussen. I get caught on the curb a bit on turn 3 as Lewis Hamilton has won the Malaysian Grand Prix, I think, from Nico Rosberg. As we come up to the end of the first sector, I am trying to keep as close to Kevin as I can. I was thinking, where on earth can I make a move on this guy, as this car does not have any sort of straight line speed, and it's just going to have to be some ludicrous dive bomb is what I was thinking. That was the plan, a ludicrous dive bomb. So we come out of the double right, up behind Kevin Magnussen. You can see him just driving away from me, and I throw it up the inside. That's a ludicrous dive bomb. That's what I was talking about. And I actually run out onto the grass where he gets a better drive around the outside, and we almost make contact as we come into this very tricky third gear right-hander in the last sector. As I get a bit of power on oversteer, a bit of wheel spin as the recording jumps a little there. I don't know what's happening. We come up to the last corner, and I up the inside again of Kevin Magnussen. But it looks like he's going to hold it around my outside, so I get a bit of wheel spin. We run now down the back straight for the last time. Only one corner to go in this race as we're running side by side with Kevin Magnussen. I got the DRS, and I back off a little just so I can get on the inside so I don't make contact again. And I'm up the inside of Kevin Magnussen. I look like I've got it done, but no, I get a bit of wheel spin. And Kevin Magnussen has got me on the run to the line. Kevin Magnussen has beat me, and I have to settle for 10th place, guys. But that is still 1 championship point, which is huge for us, guys. As you can see, Lewis Hamilton has won the race from Rosberg. My teammate Max Chilton has finished 20th, and Kamui Kobayashi did not finish. But guys, that was a brilliant race and a brilliant result. That is 1 championship point, which means 50 cents to the Henry Surtees Foundation in only episode number 2. We now look at the driver standings, and I actually can't see myself there. I'll scroll down in a second. Yes, I am up into P13. I'm ahead of Grosjean, Hulkenberg, and Gutierrez there, and just behind Sergio Perez and Daniel Kvyat by the looks of things, which is really great news to be that high. And holy shit, we are up into P number 7 in the constructors. We're ahead of Force India, Lotus, Sauber, and Caterham, guys. Anyway, guys, I hope you have really enjoyed episode 2 of the Jules Bianchi tribute career. Make sure you do subscribe to see episode 3, and make sure you go have a look at my co-op series with my mate Jason. See you next time.